Welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. I'm your host, Priya George, and today we are sitting down with someone whose journey through the corridors of leadership has been nothing short of remarkable. Mr. Vishwanath Sivaswamy, a real pleasure to have you with us. Welcome to
Thank,
FaceTime with Leaders.
thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Over the 3 decades of business transformation, strategic M&A, cross-border governance, and enterprise growth. And I'm not just talking about scale here, we're talking about taking companies from inception to a $250 million valuation, structuring deals that cross time zones, integrating teams that cross cultures, and building governance frameworks that actually stand up to pressure.
hmm Um, yeah, it came along. I think I was there at the right time. I did the right things at that point in time. When the opportunity knocked on my doors, I was ready for doing what I wanted to do. So I can't say that nobody could have done this or something like that. Many people have done that, and probably people have done much better than this. But more than doing things, I think the process of doing it and learning while doing it and what you gather along the way is more important to me. It was not just, oh, you went from zero to $225 million, and
True.
that's a great, and it's not, nobody else
True.
has done it. So it's not that big.
True.
People have gone much beyond that, right? So for me, it's more of, I love the journey. I learned, I made some friends. I committed some mistakes. I learned from
Hmm.
them. All of that put together. It's something that I think is worth sharing with a lot of the youngsters who are coming along.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this conversation so special. Vishwanath isn't just a boardroom strategist. He's someone who's reshaped companies and rebranded global firms and still found the time to stay rooted in purpose, from supporting underprivileged education to advocating inclusive leadership. Uh, Vishwanath, now that we are settled in, I'd really like to start on a more personal note. So let's
Mhm.
start at the very beginning. And everyone has a story. But instead of reading out the timeline, we'd love to hear it from you in your own words. What did the early chapters look like for you, and how did it all begin for you? We'd love to hear.
Um, I can't say it is very different from a lot of people. It was a lot of confusion. I don't think I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was young. I just went along with the flow. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, you're educating or you're hustling to just get a job, right? You're not thinking about, oh, I'm going to build this big company or I'm going to do something for the planet like this and etc. Right? So these were more of, you hustle, you get there, you want to be counted among the people who get a job or a good job, etc. And that started with school. You got to get your best ranks, best scores, best everything to
Right.
be counted. So that's where it started for me. So it was the regular hustle that I would say everybody goes through. I
Hmm.
went through that hustle in school, in college. I
Hmm.
got
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
engineering seat when there were probably about, I don't know, maybe about 2,000 seats in engineering colleges in the entire state of Andhra Pradesh, the combined state of Andhra Pradesh at that time.
Hmm.
Um, and did I want to be an engineer? I don't think so. I think it was more of, that was one option to get a job.
Hmm.
So it was more of that than clear thinking. But what struck me while in college and after was problems attracted me, right? If there was a problem, I was always like, oh wow, wait a minute. So there is something here that needs to be, there is a knot that needs to be untied, if you know what I mean, right? So
Hmm.
that is something I discovered about myself. I was rather comfortable with, people avoided problems, and I was
Hmm.
probably attracted
Drawn.
towards problems. Yeah, drawn to them, right? So, and my mom used to say, well, why do you always get into a problem? And I was like, I'm not getting into a problem. I'm untying a knot that seems to be there, right? And that's how I thought I got into the whole this thing. And then I figured out that people get into knots because they don't follow certain principles or certain discipline, right? You do things randomly, get into a situation, and then you curse yourself for, oh, I got into this situation. Now, why did you not think about it step by step? And why did you get into a situation like this, right? Knock yourself down,
Correct.
and then spend equal energy unknotting yourself, right? Why do people do that? I don't know that. And then that is when it struck me that, you got to define processes, systems. This was back in the mid 90s, early 90s, which is when my thoughts of reading some books, meeting some people, all of that started. And then I figured out that you don't have to create a problem and then undo a problem and pat your back and say, oh, I did a great job undoing problems, right? Why do you even get into problems? That was uh, what started me off as. And then I framed for myself what I call as the first principles of things. First principles of life, first principles of business, first principles of doing something. Um, those principles helped me to start building systems, start building processes. I had some really good mentors who helped me along the way. They let me make the mistakes. Um, I think I learned from them letting me do things. I should be
Right.
thankful to all those people who let me do that at that point in time. Also, just want to add one last point. When I started off with my career, it was 1990. And that was the time India was starting to open up gates for foreign investments and other things. And we were going from more government control to more privatization. And there was an opportunity and there was also problems with that. Right? I saw the opportunity. Many saw problems. But, they got what they thought, and I got what I thought. So eventually, I'm here. Uh,
Right.
every company that I worked for added something. The people added something. My superiors added something. The team that I worked with added something. I'm ever grateful to all the people who did a lot to what I came. I did myself some things, but people added a lot more.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. I think there are two things that struck me, Vishwanath, in your response. The first thing is that you're actually uh, a problem seeker, and I don't mean that in a negative way. You look for the hows and whys, you look for the answers to the hows and whys.
Mhm.
And the second thing that struck me is when you said that people find themselves in very sticky situations at times, is because more often people act on impulse rather than thinking about long-term repercussions as immediate solutions. So I think that's a very important point that you made there. I think that's very sound advice, so to speak. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Vishwanath, like I have to say that when we read about what you pulled off at Anthelio, like setting up a delivery center with over 400 plus people in just 5 months and doing it cost neutrally, we actually had to pause for a breath. So we are genuinely curious what was going on behind the scenes, what mindset did you bring into that challenge, and how did you rally everyone around at such a critical time with such an ambitious goal and also with paucity of time? So we'd love to hear.
Yeah, I mean, just to add two more complexities to what you're talking about, right?
Sure.
One was the world was going through a financial meltdown when we started this back in 2006, 2007. And
Right.
then there was a meltdown in 2008, 2009, 2010. We saw glimpses of it in 2008. 9 and 10 hit the world hard. We came through a lot of things during that phase of business. The other part that added complexity was Anthelio was in this business of healthcare provider business. And healthcare has got two parts to it. One is the insurance side of it, the payer side of it, as I call it. And then the provider is the hospitals and others. And it is difficult to get change done inside hospitals and to let them go of data, patient data. There's a lot more of complexity, a lot more of
Right.
regulation, etc. on that side. So combine
Right.
this with standing up a startup from nowhere. And the choice we made was to go inorganic growth. We didn't want to go organic, meaning not from person 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 2,000. We went from 1 to 40 to suddenly 2,000 and then suddenly 4,000, suddenly 10,000. So it was through acquisitions. And
Okay.
that is a very complex thing to do. The complexity being you have different cultures, right? You acquire a
Right.
company A, which has grown up in a certain way, although out of the United States. And then company B, which is also out of the United States, but in a different state, has got a different culture within the same country. So it's difficult to put companies together and then derive synergies from that combination unless the cultures mix. And that was a new dimension that was learned along the way. So while a lot of people have started from ground zero, for example, Infosys is a very good example of 5, 6 people starting ground up in
Correct.
late 80s, 90s to
Correct.
building a massive empire, right? So that
Empire.
part is, yeah, that part is known to many people, many executives in the country. Now, I'm not very different from that school, right? I've come from that school, worked in Keane, learned how to do the organic way, get everything organized. Now, to switch that to say organic is not the way to grow, inorganic is the way to grow, which means that you put in money and then you're putting in
Right.
money when there is a meltdown, when money is not easily available,
Oh.
and then yet stand it up and make it work. I
Oh.
think was the biggest complexity that we came through. If there is something that I can tell myself that, hey, you did a good job of something, it was because of these circumstances of putting together Anthelio and making it cost neutral. The situation demanded that we had to be cost neutral because there was not easy money available. We
True.
had to do it. We can't go keep asking for more money and more money because there was no money available at that time. So we did it. And there were several things that we did. And the uh, biggest thing that I did was I built trust with the team. The the thing that I went and did with people was I stood in front of them and said, "This is what we are. This is what we want to do." Now, this is an honest admission to the team. And then the team started to rally behind. I think teams like honest people and they are willing to work with you if you tell them and define what the problem is. If you kind of make it not so transparent for them, they're always doubting what you're doing behind the
Absolutely.
scenes, right? So
Yes.
I opened the doors to everything in the company for everybody to see and said, um, lean in and give your shoulder and do your best. And let's see where we go with this, right?
Right.
We have the right heads at the top who think in the United States. We have the right heads at those places which are operational, one being India. And then
Right.
let's see let's get all of this to work together. And there are people like myself who are always thinking of how do we de-risk this? Okay, this is going to be a risk. What do we do with this? What do we do with that? So we are thinking ahead, clearing the way for the army to come behind and be able to execute their job. So my job was more of serving the people who are working rather than calling myself as I am the leader, I'm leading. I'm leading by serving them, not by directing them. Um, because there was very little to direct. Many people knew what had to be done. They
Yes.
wanted obstacles to be removed. And going back to my ability of remove problems, untie the knots. So that's what I did. I anticipated the knots. I removed them. I made sure that they were not in our way. And eventually we got to from point A to point B. So that's how the Anthelio was built. And more
Right.
importantly, I also draw from a lot of work that was done in Keane. When I joined Keane, Keane was a fledgling in India, massive company, $1 billion plus in the US. And we moved Keane from almost nothing to about 10,000 people in India when I left them in about 4 years of time. And that massive growth at that point in time told me lots of things. It taught me a lot of things. And I took a big chunk of that to this Anthelio, and then
Right.
we built it on top of that experience. Not to, I should give credit to a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my team members who worked with me. They came from different backgrounds. They were willing,
Mm.
and like I said, when you tell them the truth, they're willing to put in their best.
Right, right.
That's how it made headlines.
Right. I think that's incredible. What stuck out to me in your response was like the clarity of purpose and precision. Also, stressing on the importance of transparency with your peers and the team that is working with you, because I also think it invariably empowers them, and I think they
Hmm.
feel more a part of the organization and are willing to put a lot more
Yes.
as opposed to an opposing scenario. So thanks
Yeah.
for sharing that anecdote with us. Uh,
Mhm.
Vishwanath, one thing that stood out to us is how you've always made time for public forums, whether it's NASCOM, it's an Indian American Chamber of Commerce, American Chamber of Commerce, and it made us think public platforms like these, they're not just about networking or visibility. Um, I think so. And there's something deeper there, influence, advocacy, legacy as well.
Mhm.
So we'd love to hear your take. Why has public engagement been such a constant in your journey? And in your view, how does it shape a leader's impact beyond the business?
Nice question. So I think, well, I think if you seek influence, then you may get a small piece of it. I don't think people should seek influence. This is my perspective, right?
Mm.
When you chase value, then everything else follows that, right? If you chase other than value, let's say influence, for some it is wealth, for somebody else it is something else, right? So
Correct.
title, job, position, these things, if
Mm.
you chase, you get only to that point. But if you
True.
chase value, right, everything else follows you. So I,
Right.
I was not conscious about the influence that I can have and therefore
Mm.
go to these associations or go to use these platforms. No, it was not like that. I participated because there was a genuine need for India to be global. And I started at a time when technology, IT, and this whole revolution of technology, IT revolution that was happening in
Mm.
this country. At that point in time, I was one of those who had the ability to ride the wave as well as create the wave, right? You had to row hard if you're in the boat, but at the same time, you had the wind on your sails, which will take you there. Um, Both were happening at that point in time. And I was fortunate to be at that point in time of that wave. Um, which was so my take on that is I did not chase this influence. I did not go to these associations for what they seem to give benefit. I went there because I wanted to put across that here's a great benefit of using talent from India for businesses elsewhere in the world. And this is
Mm.
how we can get everybody to work together to make this planet a small village instead of making it look like you are an American and I'm an Indian and we don't need each other or we don't have
Mm.
to depend on each other. I'd rather be interdependent planet across, and that is how it has turned out to be. We didn't imagine this back in the mid 90s and late 90s, but then eventually look at it how it is in 2025 as we speak. We have become a global village, haven't we?
True.
We can talk to anybody anywhere. We can influence anybody anywhere.
True.
There are things that are happening. Somebody's doing something in Brazil, in the Amazon, and you and
Absolutely.
I are complaining about trees being cut in Amazon. Why are we doing that? Why is this global warming such a big thing for developing nations or Africa, right? So I think we are a connected tissue. We need to make sure that we stay connected as a tissue. And
Right.
those were the years that we did that together. It so happened that influence came along the way. These associations that I went
Right.
to, NASCOM or IACC, Indian American Chamber of Commerce, all these places where we put across and said, we have to stay together and do this together for the benefit of each of us. When you started talking that and when you started demonstrating that value is when you
Right.
see, you know, influence coming along, and then
Mm.
you stay relevant. Um, and the relevance started increasing or improving, if you will, in terms of people starting to notice that, hey, he's got a point and we should stay together on this one rather than fight how much you get and how much I get. It's not a negotiation who wins. It's a negotiation, how do we win together? And that's the discussion that I think put me there in front of all those people. And I'm grateful to them. I have also learned, I shouldn't say that it's my contribution there alone. There were a lot of people who were thinking like me. And
Sure.
I learned a lot from them, whether it was all the Davos meets that I went to. People were genuinely concerned and um, were willing to sit down and talk about it to resolve things rather than say,
Right.
it's not my problem. They were not willing
Mm.
to walk away from them. They were willing to sit down. And I learned that from them, that it is easier to sit down and solve it rather than live with it forever.
Mm. Mm.
So I don't think I went after the influence. I went after something. I call it value. Influence came uh,
Mm.
as an outcome of it.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So, do you think that finding deeper purpose or deeper meaning in what one is doing in their life is important? Um, you know,
Mhm.
uh, I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
right.
I, I think so. I think deeper purpose is very important, and it will drive you to do something beyond what you can imagine.
And there's
I,
also
I don't think
longevity.
longevity. I don't think you know the answer for everything. See, the thing about people wanting to know answers to everything is not correct. You got to discover them, and you got to take the risk of throwing
Yes.
yourself out there and trying to do it.
And along the way, you may find answers.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely, absolutely.
Right. Right.
Right. Mm.
Thank you. Thank you for your response, Vishwanath. We came across your work in rebranding and repositioning a company on the global stage. And honestly, that's not just a strategy move, it's a mindset shift. Uh, when a business wants to go global, there's a lot of stake, identity, perception, even culture. And
Mhm.
from your experience, what's that one thing they should absolutely need to get right at the start?
Oh, that's difficult, right? You can't get anything absolutely right at the start. I think you will make changes. I think the absolute thing that you would want to get right at the start is you think of why you are starting this and stick to it and don't change that, right? And um, everything else around it, the brand and everything else around it is built on this one purpose for which you are starting this. For example, in Anthelio, right, that we acquired a company out of Dallas and then we rebranded it as Anthelio. Now, the purpose of rebranding it is to help everybody come to something that they can relate to, right? I'll give you a quick example,
Yeah, sure.
which is a very recent example, right? Um, right now, we are having this military operation against Pakistan. We are calling it
True.
Sindoor, right?
Yes.
I don't want to get into the politics of all of it,
Politics of it.
but the name Sindoor, right? It sends a message. You know clearly what it
Symbolic.
means. It is very symbolic, and
Hmm.
people are willing to rally behind that, right? So
Hmm.
I think you need to get something like that to rally, so your team to rally behind that, your customers to sit up and say, "Oh wow, is that what you did it for?"
Yeah.
And your suppliers and vendor to say, "I want to associate with that." And that's the
Hmm.
one big purpose that you put out there for every stakeholder to come across and say, "I like that. I want to be part of it." And that's what we did in Anthelio.
Hmm.
Um, so what Anthelio is this? just to give you
Yes, a little context.
context of that. Helio is the sun, and Anthelio is one above the sun, right? So if we think that the one which throws light is the sun, we want it to be, okay, wait, but let's do something beyond that. And Anthelio being healthcare, here's how we defined healthcare services to a hospital. And my point to all the team was, can we send home a grandmother to a grandson one day earlier from a hospital because of technology? Can we send home a father to his daughter one day early? Can we send a mother and a child, the child being the newborn, home one day early? Who wants to be in a hospital? Nobody, right? So, but what stops them from going home early? There's a lot of process and this and that and verifications, all of that. The doctor comes and says, you're fit to go home. And then the system takes 24 hours to send them
Oh,
home.
yes.
Right?
True.
Why? And this was back in 2006, 2007. I think 2008 it was. Why? Why does it take so long for people to go home after the patient is ready to go home or fit to go home, as per the doctor? And that was the one that we sat down and said, that's the primary thing that we are addressing as a company. We can't tell whether the patient is fit to go home or not. That's for the doctor to tell. Now, once the doctor says he or she is fit, can we do everything to send them home like in a moment after the doctor says? And what should we do? And we humanize that by talking about the things that I told you. Can you send the grandmother home early? Can you send a father to the daughter? Can you send the mother and the child home? Can you send people home early? When you humanize that, instead of saying, our turnaround time is 24 hours, we want to reduce it to 12 hours. But that doesn't make sense to many people, right? Oh, okay, so we will have to do some processing. But if I say, hey, why do you want to keep the father away from the daughter? That's when everybody wakes up and said,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to do it, right?
They
But it's
connect with
just,
the idea, like, it immediately makes sense. They kind of, everybody would relate to it. I think most people would relate to that idea, I think.
that was our brand. That is how we sold our brand. That is how we rebranded the whole business to say, hey, this is what we stand for. We want to humanize the whole thing. And I think every business has the ability to humanize what they got. Every business, and without an exception, right? There is an element of humanity that you can add to it and put it out there, except probably the tobacco companies and the alcohol companies. Everybody
Right.
else has an
Right.
element, some larger, some smaller, but you bring out the
True.
human element out there in your
Right.
brand, and the brand will start to look up, and everybody then wants to associate with it. The nurse wants to be faster. The administration wants to be faster. Everybody wants to be faster because, hey, this is what we are doing. I don't
Right.
want this person to be hanging around. He's been here for long in hospital. So I learned that there. I like that element of it. I loved the whole team coming around it, rallying around it, and building around it. So that's how we called it. The name, the colors. This is for the brand guys to do it, right? For me, it is the humanizing thing. Put it out there as the head of the business to say that, guys, this is what we now go and make stories about it. And then they built all the brand and everything around it. And that's the part which clicked. That's the part which made some impact.
Right.
Mhm.
The moment you narrated this, I was thinking about all the brands that, not just me, like, the nation or a large group of people, connected
Right.
and, associated, like, there were just some brands and it was done so well and they still stand firm, like, so it just got me thinking about all of those. So that made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take names, but yes, thank you. Thank you for your response. Vishwanath, you've led businesses through transformation and you've built cultures across borders and steered complex M&A deals. You have definitely created an impact at every level. But we are wondering what's next for you. For someone who's had such a layered journey, comes like with armed with all that experience. Uh, are there boardroom aspirations, a vision you're still working towards? Are you looking towards a mentorship role even that keeps you curious and energized? We'd love to hear from you.
Um, I haven't really thought through all of it. Okay, let me tell you that. In the last since 2014, I've started a school. This is a K-12 school. There are 2,700 children studying in my school.
Okay.
Mm. I started with a few friends, and this has got nothing to do with business. And I've stayed in touch with the business. I've invested in a few places, and as a investor, I've stayed with private equity companies, in touch with private equity companies, venture capitalists. I've helped them with some due diligence processes, etc. I've stayed relevant to business, but I think I learned in the last 10 years, I have learned from the school business a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have learned from a business. I see I see that the world is going to be filled with many more kids who are much more smarter than what I was when I was 15 years old or 18 years old. Okay. And now if you don't channel this energy in the society, in the community, right? In the country, in the on this planet, I think we will lose it. And they are also distracted. They're also people who are distracted. They're also people who get pulled aside by all these gadgets, which we adults made. By the way, no kid asked for a cell phone. They asked for our time, but we gave them a cell phone. But that apart, um, you know, there are things that I've learned which I think will connect to the business world out there. And I want to bring a culmination of these two into the boardrooms. I think I have some to contribute to the boardrooms to say, here's what we should be doing. I want to contribute to, are you thinking sustainable, right? Are you thinking of wealth creation? Boardrooms most likely think of wealth creation. Well, I started like that. I was told when I got into the boardroom, wealth creation is our biggest important factor that we have to do. Good. I mean, but then I learned over the period of 15, 20 years, wealth creation is not the purpose for which we start. We start with a purpose. Wealth creation happens as an outcome, not, it shouldn't be the income, right? Um, and that's what I want to take to the boards to say, hey, there is another better way to build this planet. Corporations can contribute much more than what they are contributing. You have to make wealth, but you can make it in a sustainable way, equitable to all. Um, make everybody part of the journey, or make everybody part of the process. I think a lot of people started with that. I don't think whether it was Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates who said that I want to be the richest man in the world, and therefore they started their companies. They had an idea. They went and chased a value, and everything else chased them, right? Um, and now they realize, okay, we got to contribute much more than just creating wealth, and they are starting to contribute and by doing other stuff. Now, if that is done later, instead, I'm saying, can we start contributing right from the beginning when we start? Had Gates started to contribute in a bigger way to this planet, had Bezos started to contribute to this planet in a bigger way 20 years ago, probably 15 years ago, right? Could he have made a much more impact? And the answer, I think, is yes. And therefore, I want to get into the boardrooms and say, let's not wait for creating a lot of wealth and then figuring out what do we do with this wealth and therefore go and share it with others. Let's share it along the way and create many more billionaires. I think to some extent, Infosys did that, right? Their ESOPs program in the mid 90s. They're giving wealth and sharing wealth early in their processes. It was all a part of it. I don't know how smartly they're doing it today, but they created wealth for most of their employees who started with them early. And I think it's a process that you can do right from the beginning. And I think there is a element or a component that you will make 2x or 3x than what you have currently made. Right? So think by sharing, you get more than by keeping.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's the piece that I want to take to the boardroom. So my future, I think, to answer the question, long question short, is mm, to go there and tell people that can we build something sustainable?
Hmm.
Can we do this so everybody benefits? Can we think about these
Agreed.
things right from the beginning? You don't want to wait for um,
Right.
can we do it in a way that we are not
Hmm.
hurting all the players and non-players? Like, for example,
Hmm.
people don't think of the environment and they just blindly do things, right? And then
Hmm.
eventually somebody comes and slaps a fine at you and say that you are spoiling the environment. That's when they wake up and say, okay, then we will go plant trees,
Hmm.
right?
Correct.
Why do you have to do that? Why can't you just sit down and think, am I going to cause any problems for
Hmm.
somebody else in on this planet? I don't know where they're going to sit. And if you're not thinking about what problems I'm going to solve while I
Hmm.
build this startup or while I build this big company, if I'm not thinking about what issues I'm going to create for others,
Yes. Hmm.
I think there's somebody who needs to come into the boardroom to remind you of that and be
Right.
able to hold back and say, this is also to be done so that the good
Hmm.
thing that you're doing gets sustained for hundreds of years, not just 20, 30 years, and then it dies.
Correct. Right.
Right. So that's the piece that I want to bring into the boardroom.
Right.
There are other things.
Vishwan.
I mean, there are 100 other things that I'm good at mergers and acquisitions. I'm good with culture learning and how to merge cultures, etc. But they are more tactical. They are for
Understood.
that particular point in time. But this is the longer, bigger vision.
Understood.
Hmm.
Understood.
Right.
Vishwanath, you said you've started a school, and if it's okay for me to ask you, and if it's okay for you to, answer my question, uh, where have you started this school? And I mean, is it for everybody? Are you is it in a village or a town? Or I mean,
It-
if it's
yeah, I got
okay.
it. Yeah, I can share it. It is in Hyderabad. It is in
Okay,
the city of Hyderabad.
right.
We are very close to a very densely populated portion of Hyderabad, a part of Hyderabad which
Okay,
is densely
okay,
populated. We
okay,
have 10 acres of land here
okay.
on which we run this school. And the key for me to set up the school was because I wanted children to play. As I
Hmm.
moved
That's
between,
why the K-12 education.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I want children to
Understood.
play. I don't think I'm surprised that executives at 31 and 41 are getting a heart attack. I am
Yeah.
shocked that kids get into IIT and
Mhm.
on an average about 20 of them commit suicide inside
Yeah.
an IIT campus.
Yes.
Why would kids do that? I mean, they isn't it one of the best accomplishments to get inside an IIT? Now that
Yeah.
you have accomplished something, why do you commit suicide? If you have not, I can understand the disappointment
Correct.
of not, right?
Correct.
And then, but nobody should commit suicide, no matter what, right? If that's not
Nobody.
a failure, not getting into
Correct.
IIT is not a failure. Now, let's take success. You are successful, you got into IIT, and then you are under pressure, and then you commit suicide. That I think is shocking. It's
Hmm.
just not, it was very difficult for me to digest that such brilliant minds.
Hmm.
I don't know, these kids after their IIT could have done something beyond
Absolutely. And
anybody's
contributed
imagination.
so much. I mean,
Right?
like, yes. And
20
there are
brilliant minds
others who
every
have
year.
lost the seat that they could have got, you know?
Exactly, right? So this
Yeah.
20 brilliant minds that the country loses every year seems to be, I don't know, I'm not, I don't want that to happen. I mean,
Correct.
if I could, I want to put a full stop to that. I don't know how to help these kids,
Yeah.
right? Getting into those campuses and talking to them. So I thought that probably they're going through something in the school level, which is
Yes, they are.
letting them commit.
As an educator, I can vouch for it because in the last, I think, decade, what I've observed is students are not able to handle failure
Hmm.
because schools nowadays, especially, without putting down any educational system, there is such stress on important ideas such as leadership and excellence that the moment a child scores, something even a grade less or a mark
Hmm.
less, it's like the world has like, completely shattered and not being able to handle failure.
True.
Not being able to embrace mistakes. So I see that as a growing trend. It's something I didn't experience as a kid, but as an educator, I have seen that across the board. So I mean, if I could answer your question, where does it happen? It starts right from even grade one till board level class.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that is because children don't play much. And I think
Correct.
that's my hypothesis, right?
That makes
Games
sense.
teach you. Games teach you to lose,
Absolutely.
right?
It's
And
okay not to be a winner all the time, you know?
yes, yes. And I'm a
Yes.
big fan of Tendulkar. I'm a big fan of Messi. Tendulkar had to wait 6 World Cups to win his World Cup. His sixth
Right.
one is when he won it. He lost 5 of them, right? Being the best player in the world, having the best team behind him in 2003 and 2007 and
Correct.
he won it in 2011. Messi, one of the best footballers in the
Yes.
world has seen, had to wait till until the last time. So I think there is a lot to learn from sport. There is
That's
these
so important.
these
Yes.
great people lose so much, so many times, and then come back and then come back and then come back, and they finally win their dream. And I think somewhere we fail to tell our children that it is okay to fail. Guys, it is perfectly okay to fail.
It's
You don't
perfectly
plan for
okay.
failure, but you know what? You
Yes.
give your best, and if you fail, you gave your best, right?
True.
It is okay. I'm not going to coach them for failure. I'm going to coach them to win, but I'm also going to tell them next time we will do it again. Next time we'll do it again. Next time we'll do it again. I'm not going to go back and beat them for their failure. I
Yeah.
think it's the parents, the schools, the society at large. We reward only the
Yes.
toppers. We don't
Yes.
reward just ordinary people. I mean, tell me one, did Bill Gates do all the programming in Microsoft? You don't hear anybody other than Bill Gates from Microsoft.
Correct.
There are
Correct.
there are 100,000 people working there. There are 100,000 people or 300,000 people working in IBM. What names do you know? Isn't that a great company? Other than Jeff Bezos, how many people do you know? Other than
True.
Elon Musk, how many people do you know? And aren't
True.
there people who are building it, right?
Yeah.
And why do we forget that those are also great people? Why do we
Absolutely.
forget those people are also successful? Why
True.
do, so somewhere we got this whole habit of rewarding and talking only to Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and they can be your role models, they can be your heroes, they can be what you want. But you know what? But they don't build it alone. They build it along with great people
True.
who do equally well, equally good, probably more than any of these people for Microsoft and Google and other places to do really, really well, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm thinking this is something that we got to tell children. We have to tell children that, hey, you know what? Don't plan for failure, but don't beat yourself for when you fail.
True.
You got to. That is one thing. The second thing that I learned from, we always blame children when they fail, and we take credit when they are successful. Schools take the success. Our school has got these people who have
Yes, they'll
scored these
highlight.
ranks.
Yes.
Wait a minute,
Yes.
what about the kid? Right? And then when
Yeah.
somebody fails, the teacher goes back and says, you did not do what I told you. Really?
Mm.
Why is the teacher not a failure? Why don't we take the blame for a child's failure? And I'm not saying that teachers also should beat themselves down and say that
Correct.
they fail. Everybody has to come back to the drawing board and say, well, let's sit down and see why this did not happen. Let's
True.
rework it and let's do better next time.
True. Makes
And
sense.
this is something I have learned in the school. I love this part of the learning in the school to tell children that it's okay that I want you to try, but if you're not successful, you are not a failure. In this event, you failed, but you as a
Mm.
person, you're not a failure. Don't tell yourself I'm a failure.
Mm. Mm.
In this exam, which was conducted on this particular day, I didn't do well. It's okay. It's okay. Probably on another day, in another situation, you'll do much better than what you've done. So it's okay. Why that 3 hours determines who you are as a person? It doesn't. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. So I want to build characters. I want to build children into great characters.
Resilience.
I want to build resilient children. I want to
Right.
build I want to build children who can go back and say, I have Edison failed 1,000 times before he found the bulb. Come on, guys. It's not okay to give up, right?
Yeah. Right.
So
Absolutely. Our mistakes don't define us.
As mistakes don't define us.
True.
And we don't have to be boastful of our success as well. Right?
True.
There are a lot of people who contribute to our success. So let's do this together.
Right.
And winning and losing is a point in time, is just one checkpoint of your life. It's important. It's a good scoreboard to have, but let's not make that the only scoreboard of life.
Right. Makes sense. Thank you. I think that was like a very interesting bit of conversation that we have. Vishwanath, something we often hear from our community, especially, those stepping into the boardroom for the first time, and they seem to be uncertain about how they can really contribute to meaningful change. And now, given the depth of your boardroom experience, what would you say to those first timers or aspiring board members who want to do more than just be, present, and who genuinely want to make a difference?
Okay, so a couple of things. From a mindset perspective, I'll address this in two ways, right? From a mindset perspective, it's perfectly okay for you to be walking into that room and thinking about how am I going to do this? What is it? So it's perfectly okay. Everybody goes through that, right? So don't worry about it. That's not the reason. You tell yourself that I'm here because I'm good, right? Tell yourself that you are good, and that is why you're being invited into a boardroom. So that's the mindset perspective. You got to back yourself to do that. 2, 3 other things that I would advise all these first-time boardroomers is to prepare. Please prepare. Do not assume that you know everything. Read up everything that has got, right? So when I found in some places, when some people came up to me and asked me, why did that go wrong? I told them, you did not prepare. It was there in the documents that were given to you. You did not read up. They said, refer to this. You should have gone there, refer to it, got prepared, and then got into the discussion in the boardroom, right? So I find that a lot of people these days Google up and get a bite of it, and then they think that they know it, and then they come to it. And don't do that. That's a shortcut. That's not. I mean, by the way, Google doesn't generate ideas. Google spits out ideas which are put up by people like you and I.
Regurgitated.
Right, regurgitate. So why are you taking somebody else's this thing? So do it. Right? That's the other thing. So read up a lot. Third thing, which I find youngsters not doing, not just the boardroom youngsters, but also
in
senior
general.
Executives, right? In general, senior executives, right? So they read a lot. But today, I find that there are fewer people talking to wise men. And I'm not considering myself. I grew up because I spoke to more people. I did read my books, right, which were recommended by them. But I used to talk to people about those books and about what did you like about it? What did you get? They give me a new dimension, a new perspective, a new something which I did not think of. So that I thought was much more valuable than what the book gave me. The book gave me a lot of information on what happened. Wise men gave me 4 different perspectives of that, which I probably did not get from the book. And that's what I think is these days youngsters are falling short of. You're not talking and meeting people who have been there and have gone through similar situations. And then here's the kicker, right? So let's say somebody who is 10 or 20 years older than me is now telling me you do this, do this, do this. I think the youngsters are much more smarter because of the evolution process, right? The whole evolution process is such that, the older generations were less smarter than we are.
Correct.
And our next generation will be more smarter than us. So that evolution, you add that smartness, extra smartness on top of this wisdom, you got a real icing on the cake. And we are missing out because we are trying to take only this smartness and leaving out the wisdom. So there's a lot of knowledge and information. There's lesser and lesser of wisdom in forums, is what I
Right.
think it is, right? So
Right.
I I I want this to
Absolutely.
change to much more of, guys, get some people who can talk to you through what they went
Yes.
through, what they did,
Yes.
and then you make your decisions. I don't think CEOs should make decisions only based on what the board members tell them. They should go based on what they think is right for the company. But then,
Mm.
um, do they have every opinion that they need to make that decision? If they do, God bless them. They should make that decision. And if it is a wrong decision, it's perfectly okay. We will back up that CEO to say, come back and fix
Right.
it, and let's do it again.
Right.
Right? Don't try to be right all the time. In the fear of being right, don't
Mm.
let fear of failure take over. In the fear of
Yes.
failing something, right? Or you want to be right every time. Well, that's an
Yes.
intent.
Yes.
But remember that it shouldn't therefore freeze you from doing things.
Yes. And I
Do it.
think it's also important to ask questions, like you mentioned, and also seek help. There
Yeah.
is no, I mean,
Shame
no
and seeking help.
shame. Yes, absolutely.
I
There's
agree.
no like stupid question, and it's okay. I think, regardless of your age or experience, I think youngsters need to respect the experience and seek out advice or any suggestion. And maybe the older generation or the more experienced generation can try and understand, new trends. And
Mhm.
I think that would be a good balance. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they fall upon, for lack of name, they fall upon these search engines, Google being the biggest one,
Yeah.
to check for everything. And well, that it doesn't give you everything, right? It only gives you information.
Mm.
And what it doesn't give you is the wise advice of, hey, I tried that. This is how it failed. These are the reasons why it failed. And therefore, you may want to consider going and checking on, do you have the same situations? Change the situation, the outcome will be different.
Mm.
Right? You don't have to
Right.
change the decision every time. You change
Absolutely.
your situation, right?
Yeah.
Go and fix a few things. That decision might come right.
And a change in mindset as well. I think that's
True.
very important.
It is. It
Yes.
is. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Uh, Vishwanath, as we come to the end of the interview, we know that you've had a long-standing career leading from the front, but recently you've also chosen to engage with Directors Institute. And given your depth of experience, we'd love to know what that journey's been like for you so far.
Okay. So first thing is, um, depth of experience. I don't think that's the right.
Why not?
Well, it's good experience. I don't think it is
Yeah,
depth of experience. It's good experience,
because
but
it's varied. There's like so
it is.
much.
I
Yes,
agree. I agree to that. But your experience is only good when you use it. Right.
that's
Most of the
true.
things that I found in people, I've found many people very experienced in certain things. But if we don't go seek it and use it the next time in a similar situation or um, in situations by modifying it, then
Mm.
experience is no good. And I find that people who are experienced don't want to participate. And I find also youngsters not going and seeking, hey, what do you know, or what do you think I'm doing is right, or where am I likely to go wrong, right? I'm making this decision.
Mm.
Where do you think? So that's not happening. So depth of experience is depth or shallow. It depends on
How you
how you
use your
use it.
experience.
Yeah, yeah. The
Yes,
more you
yes,
use it, the deeper it is.
true.
The less you use it, the shallower it is, right? So it's not how much you know, it's how much you use. Um,
Right.
that's the point that about the depth part I wanted to. Okay, so for coming to why Directors Institute, right? So I'm thinking that this is a platform which will let me interact with more people. Um, it will also give shape to my. I haven't been actively in boardrooms in corporate life for the last 10 years. I've been in and out of it. I've been talking and reading and all that. But I think now there is a learning that I've got from the school and the school side. I want to take it to the, then this is a platform that I'm looking to engage in and see
Mhm.
where this can take. There's also how much ever you know. I did my master's in business 10
Mhm.
years after I joined my first job, right? And I think it did a whole lot of good to me, whole lot of good to me. I didn't take a university admission or anything like that, but I went into reading psychology like a student of psychology would do by reading up
Okay.
books, textbooks on psychology when I was about 43 or 44 years old before I started the school. It
Right.
taught me a whole lot of new things. And I was telling myself, had I known this, my HR skills probably would have been even better. But then, I found that organized learning
Structured.
disciplines you, structured learning,
True.
organized learning disciplines you a lot more than just gathering lots of experience from others. So your depth of experience can be made into a sword to pierce and make a impact only if you structure it, get it some pieces sharpened out, and do
Mhm.
all that stuff. So while a lot of information that I'm learning from the institute is something that I already know, it's not new, but then it now gives me a new perspective altogether. It says, wait a minute. So this is the connection, right? Back then I read it as a statement. Now I read it as, oh, this is why it is like this. This is why it was done like this. This is why they structured
Mhm.
it this way. So that's the piece of this thing. I like the platform to meet other people. I think the institute is going to provide me a platform to meet a lot more people who are much smarter than what I am,
Mhm.
much deeper than what I am, and
Right.
and that probably is going to add to my own this thing. And
Mhm.
learning never stops. As far as I'm concerned, learning
True.
never stops. Right? For me,
Absolutely.
I'd love to learn something new. Um,
Absolutely.
Sometimes just for the heck of it, right? You
Yeah.
never know when you will use it. You never know when
I
you can
agree.
pull a piece of it and say, I know it happens in that industry. Let me take a piece of it and put it here and see how it works here. I've done that from the corporate in the school. My school teachers come back and tell me, wow, we never thought about it this way. And then I take stories from the school to the couple of boardrooms, and I said,
Right.
children behave like this. So learn human behavior from how they are, right? Children
Yeah.
are like this, and then we switch them to something more, mm, structured.
Yeah.
They are very unstructured, and then we are looking for what? For people who are innovative and creative and all that. But they were creative right in the beginning. What did we do to
Yes,
them?
and we thwarted their thoughts and creative process.
So,
Yes, and
so
then
what are
we
we
want them
doing?
to think out of the box.
Yes. So,
Yes.
so I'm kind of, going to the boardrooms and saying, guys, if you kind of define who you're going to recruit or who you're going to depend on for your future, and you want a
Right.
creative guy, the schools and colleges are actually not making them creative. Their creativity is killed by the time they get to grade 10, and by 12, they are reading the same stuff that you and I have gone through. And the IITs are making them the engineers, or the
Right.
NEET is making them the doctors,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
so let's stop, pause. Like, should we not look at something else? Should we be looking at something else for instead of just ranks and
Yeah.
this and that to be? I mean, the kid who gets a rank, God bless him,
Hmm.
he is really smart, right? He
Yeah.
knows the system and he fits the system.
Hmm. Hmm.
But how do I get him to do more than the system? Because
Right.
if he's just doing the system, he will just be an ordinary guy. How do I get the smart kid to do more than the system? What should I do to him? And I think those are the things I'm wanting to explore here in the institute, from the institute, from people I meet, um, and seek from them rather than, um, yeah, if I can put a little bit into them also, I'll be happy. But
Right,
that is not my sole purpose, though.
right, right,
Okay, so we'll
right.
see. I mean, I'm
Yes.
excited. I'm just excited to be just
Learning
mingling with,
again.
yeah, mingling with the people who are smart, learn,
Yes.
and I'll learn something from them.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's really nice to hear that your experience has been good so far, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. Vishwanath, what can I say? But this has been an incredibly inspiring, insightful, and engaging conversation. So, your
Mhm.
journey, your candor, and the depth you bring to every topic, it's been an absolute pleasure having you with us today. So, thank you once again for being on FaceTime with Leaders.
Thank you, Priya. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I should say this is a very engaging conversation, right? You did tickle a few of some ideas now I've generated from this conversation. I got to go back and
Great.
work on them. Thank you. Thank you very
Great.
much for that.
I'm happy to hear that. And I'm sure it'll continue to spark thoughts long after the episode ends. To our audience members, thank you for tuning in to this episode of FaceTime with Leaders, a podcast by Directors Institute. If today's conversation inspired you or even made you pause and reflect, that's the kind of impact we aim for. Until next time, this is your host, Priya George, signing off. Stay curious, stay driven, and keep leading with purpose. Take care.